Tonight, we're diving into 3 true horror stories you should never watch alone. Each one comes from ordinary people who stepped into something terrifying, dark web rituals, hidden intruders, and a pet you'll never forget. Turn off the lights, get comfortable, and let the nightmares begin. Story 1. The Ritual My Sister Should Have Never Seen. My name is Corey, and ever since my sister Casey died, my parents can't let me out of their sight. Honestly, I understand why. Everything started when Casey discovered a dark web forum called Hidden Answers, a place where you can ask anything, no matter how disturbing. At first, she was just a moody teen, but after I caught her fighting with a boy outside her school and later found her reading twisted dark web rituals, things escalated fast. Hidden Answers wasn't just creepy, it was dangerous. People casually talked about hiding bodies, dismemberment, and satanic rites like they were posting cooking recipes. I begged Casey to stay away from it, but she laughed it off. "Get a life, Corey," she said. The next days were full of red flags. My mom found a rope under Casey's bed, strange snake-shaped candles, and half-burned ritual pages inside a wooden box. When I confronted the boy she fought with, he told me Casey tried to drag him into a satanic ritual she read about online, one that promised a spiritual awakening through near death. I rushed home, terrified. When Casey came back from a sleepover, her eyes were bloodshot, her voice distant. I tried to talk to her, warn her, but she locked herself in her room, screaming at me to leave her alone. That night, I must have fallen asleep on the couch, because when I woke up, my hands were tied behind my back, my mouth taped shut. Casey came down the stairs wearing all black. She was smiling. "I knew you'd try to stop me, but I'm ready for the spiritual experience. They said right before death, the universe opens." She dragged over a chair, tied a rope around her neck, climbed up, and kicked it. I screamed until my throat burned, helplessly watching her twist and claw at the rope, realizing too late she couldn't loosen it. The moment my parents found us, my sister hanging lifeless above me, broke something in all of us forever. Now my mother sits in the living room every night, staring at the ceiling where Casey died. She swears Casey is still in the house, but I know better. I know the dark web took her, and it's still out there, waiting for the next Casey. But as terrifying as that was, the next nightmare wasn't any safer.
Story 2. He got into my house while I slept. It was the last cold weekend of winter, rainy, quiet, perfect for staying inside. I planned nothing but movies and blankets. Around 8 p.m., someone knocked. Through the peephole, I saw a man in a brown jacket holding a snow shovel, despite the fact there was no snow. I cracked the door an inch. His voice was shaky, unnatural. He rambled about looking for yard work. My instincts screamed at me. I said no thanks and tried to shut the door, but his hand caught it. He stared at me for a long, silent second, then let go. I locked everything and watched him disappear into the rainy fog. Hours passed. Near midnight, while watching another movie, I heard a heavy thump from above, loud enough to shake something loose inside me. I checked upstairs, but everything seemed normal. I told myself it was the wind or the gutters, and went back down. Eventually, I got tired and turned off the TV. But as I climbed upstairs, I felt a sudden drop in temperature, sharp, unnatural. And then I saw it. A window in the hallway was cracked open, rain dripping onto the floor. I stared at it, frozen. I never opened this window, ever. When I stepped closer, I noticed something on the windowsill, a faint imprint of a shoe. My stomach twisted. Someone was inside my house. I backed toward the stairs as quietly as I could. Every open doorway around me suddenly felt alive, like someone might be watching from the shadows. I slipped downstairs, grabbed my phone, hid in the garage, and called police. 5 agonizing minutes. Only rain. When the officer arrived and searched the house, I waited outside. 2 minutes later, he shouted, "Got him!" He dragged a handcuffed man down the stairs, the same man from earlier, his face twisted with anger as he looked at me. The officer explained he had been hiding in my bedroom, likely waiting for me to go to sleep. The part that stuck with me was this. He took his shoes off. That's why you didn't hear him. The imprint you saw on the window, that's the only reason you're alive. I still have nights when I wake up convinced someone is watching from just beyond the doorway. And if you think things can't get more disturbing, just wait for this.
Story 3. The dog sitter job that nearly ended me. I found the ad online. Dog sitter needed. Good pay. 3 days of easy work, only a few blocks from my place. I thought I struck gold. When I arrived, there was a "Beware of Dogs" sign and a stench like rotting leftovers. I knocked. "The door is open, come in," a man shouted from inside. I pushed the door open and stepped into a dim living room. No lights, no owner in sight. But I heard panting, deep, animalistic panting coming closer. "Hello, sir?" I called. Then something burst out of the shadows. At first, I thought it was a large dog, until it stood too human. It was a man on all fours, wearing a homemade fursuit, a leash, a tail, his tongue hanging out. He crawled toward me and barked. "Yes, you're the sitter. Nice to meet you," he said, wagging his fake tail by shaking his entire body. Then he butted his head against my leg like a dog begging for attention. "Pat my head. Come on, pat me." I froze. He got up on all fours again and scrambled to the kitchen, opening the fridge by batting at it with his paws. Inside, piles of raw, bloody meat. "These are my favorites," he said proudly. My stomach flipped. I backed away. He suddenly lunged at me, licking my hand, panting heavily. That's when I smelled him, sour, rotten, like decayed flesh. My knees buckled. I shoved him away and bolted for the door, but he chased me on all fours at a speed no human should move. His teeth bared, gums dark, eyes wild. "Help! There's a crazy dog here!" I screamed. A man from down the street ran towards us with a baseball bat. The dog man turned on him, snarling, and sank his teeth into the man's leg. Only when the man smashed him on the head with the bat did he finally run off, whining like a wounded animal. Shaking, I thanked the stranger. He told me something that made my blood run cold. "This isn't the first time. That thing bit another sitter last year, 30 stitches. He's been in jail before. If he bites you, you have to hit him hard in the head. It's the only way he lets go." I haven't taken a pet sitting job since. Sometimes I still wonder if he's out there, sniffing around for a new sitter. If you made it to the end, you're braver than most. These stories remind us that danger doesn't always hide in the shadows. Sometimes it answers your door, watches you sleep, or waits for you to accept the wrong job. Stay safe, trust your instincts, and I'll see you in the next video, if you're still awake.
But if you think the nightmares end there, this next story might stay with you long after the video ends. Final story: The Hallway Watcher. My name is Naira, and I'm 21 years old now. But the most terrifying night of my life happened when I was just 10. Back then, my family lived in a cramped little apartment in Karachi, Pakistan. It was small, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a narrow kitchen, and a balcony that always creaked when the wind hit it. Money was tight, so we lived however we could.
One evening, my mother's older brother came to visit us. He arrived in the late afternoon, bringing his usual laughter and stories, and for a while, the tiny apartment didn't feel so small. But by 8 p.m., my eyelids were already heavy. I had to wake up early for school, and I was the kind of kid who always fell asleep before anyone else. I drifted off on my parents' bed while the TV murmured in the background. The last thing I remember was hearing my mom tell my uncle that he should stay for the night. That made me feel oddly safe, and within seconds, I was gone. I don't know what time it was when I woke up. Maybe midnight. The apartment was silent. My mother was still asleep beside me, breathing softly. My father must have been in the other room with my siblings. Nothing felt wrong, and yet something in my chest felt tight, as though my body knew something before my mind did. The door to the bedroom was half open, facing a long, dim hallway. The apartment lights were all off, but the street lamps outside threw enough orange glow through the window to faintly outline the corridor. And that's when I saw it. At the far end of the hallway, where the darkness was thickest, something tall was standing. Not just tall, unnaturally tall. Its head almost touched the ceiling. It wasn't moving, but it wasn't still either. It was leaning just enough to peek around the corner at me. I froze. At 10 years old, my mind scrambled for the simplest explanation. It's just my uncle. But why would he be standing there like that, watching the hallway? Not moving, not speaking, just staring. I tried to convince myself it was him. I clung to that explanation until the fear numbed. Eventually, somehow, I fell back asleep, even though the figure never stopped watching me. In the morning, I found out something that made my blood run cold. My uncle never stayed the night. He had left right after I fell asleep. So whoever or whatever was standing at the end of that hallway wasn't supposed to be there. And to this day, I still feel like it wasn't just watching me. It was waiting. If you made it to the end, you're braver than most. These stories remind us that danger doesn't always hide in the shadows. Sometimes it answers your door, watches you sleep, or waits for you to accept the wrong job. Stay safe, trust your instincts, and I'll see you in the next video, if you're still awake.